Hello, my name is Heather Wensler, and I appreciate you tuning in today. Following the presentation, I will provide my contact info, so be sure to stay tuned. Thanks again. So, let's get this thing started. All right, so let's take a look at our Microsoft Teams meeting. Kind of a broad overview on how to create a Teams meeting, how to manage it, how to set it up, and what to do once you've started the meeting. So I'm here in the desktop client for Microsoft Teams. I'm in the calendar, which you can find on the left-hand side of your screen. Looks a little different. There's been an update. So you might want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date version if you haven't done so in a while. Now, up in the upper right corner, I have two options. Of course, we can do a meet now. So if it's just a quick, I need to meet with somebody right away, doesn't need to be scheduled, I would use this button. But we're going to go through the process of creating a meeting and then setting it up correctly and securely, and then launching and running the meeting. I'm going to click New Meeting. And again, this is connected to Outlook, so it's going to be using my Outlook availability and my Outlook calendar, as well as the availability of any guests that I invite who happen to be within my company, my organization. So I'm going to give my meeting a title, of course. I can add required attendees. In this case, I'm going to add myself just so that we can send this invitation. If you do not add at least a required attendee, or if you don't put it in a channel of a team, you won't actually be able to send the meeting. So I want to make sure that I am here and able to attend. I just click tab. Of course, it's showing my availability as free. I choose my date and my time. And of course, I can change those, make it longer or shorter. It also gives me some suggested availability based on my attendee and who might be available or not. I can choose whether this repeats. Now, if you use a recurring meeting, if it's the same meeting every single week, couple times a week, whatever, keep in mind that the chat and conversations within that meeting are persistent. So that means that every single time you have this meeting, you are adding to that chat history. Now, that might not be a problem if you're only going to do this a few times, but if you're having, say, a weekly meeting for 6 months, you can imagine how long your chat history is going to be. So for ease, I would recommend not using recurring meetings. Also, don't recommend using recurring meetings if you're going to invite guests to different meetings, because remember, when you invite people into a meeting, they have access to your chat. So if you're doing secure meetings, don't use the recurring option. So I'm going to say does not repeat. If I'm going to be inviting people who are not part of a team, then I don't want to have this in a channel. I want to keep this as more of an Outlook Teams meeting versus a channel meeting. So I'm going to leave the channel blank. I would type in my details here. I can paste any agenda that I have, any links, anything I need my participants to be aware of. I can also choose response options. So I can request that they tell me their RSVP. I can allow them to forward the invitation to others or not. The choice is mine, and I click send. Now, once I click send, it's going to create the meeting in my calendar. Now, it's turned purple right now because, as you can see, it should be starting right now. What I want to do, there's a couple of things I need to do before my meeting starts, and that is to set my meeting options. Now, I can set those in advance from outside the meeting, or I can wait and launch the meeting and set them from within the meeting itself. So let's look at both ways. So I'm going to set my meeting options before I start the meeting. So I simply click on the meeting, and notice here that I can chat with participants. Now, keep in mind, anything that you post in the chat with participants won't actually be visible to anybody prior to starting the meeting. So if I post any files, it's not going to be visible to people outside the meeting. All right, I'm going to click edit. and it's going to open our editing window. But now notice I have these meeting options here. Also, here I have access to our chat, so I can post messages for my members to see when they log in. I can attach files here that we need to work with or work together on. My meeting details just shows the same information. This is right where I was before. I can start meeting notes here as well, and these notes become available to everybody in the meeting. I can even create a whiteboard, which we can edit together, or I can pre-create and allow them to view. So again, I have two options. I can be a presenter only, where I'm the only editor, or it can be a collaborative board. If I click on the plus sign, I can add additional tabs. Perhaps I want to create a poll. I can use Polly, click add, and I can create in advance a poll question or two. It's going to ask me to sign in. So at this point, I'm not going to do that. So here you can see that we have a whiteboard. So I can prepare for the meeting in advance and add these polling questions. I can add notes. I can add whiteboard. I can add all this in advance, kind of save me some time later. I'm going to come back to details because here in the middle, where it used to be response options, we now have meeting options. And again, I can set these from right within the meeting as well, but I'm going to be a little prepared this time, and I'm going to try to do this in advance. All right, so for security, we have a lobby. Microsoft has imposed a lobby, and you can choose who can bypass, who can come straight into the meeting and who cannot. Currently, it is set for everyone, but I can allow only people in my organization or trusted organizations, and that is set up by my administration on the back end, and guests, they can bypass. I can allow only people in my organization and guests whom I'm invited, or I can say only me. That means everybody is stopped for security at the library, and I will have to admit each of them into the meeting. So, and that, again, this just depends on what type of meeting you're having and who you're having your meeting with. Callers cannot bypass the lobby by default based on the settings that my administration has chosen. So if they are using a phone to call in, they will be stopped in the library or in the lobby, excuse me, and I will have to admit them. So that allows me, again, it's all to keep my meeting secure. I can choose whether there will be an announcement that a caller has joined. I turn it off. I find it distracting. And then you can choose who will be able to present. This is setting your attendees versus presenters. And again, this can all be changed in the meeting once the meeting starts. So if I am the only presenter, that means everybody else who joins is an attendee. And for security, this will prevent people from being able to remove others from the meeting or remove me, the presenter, from the meeting. I can change this, however. In this case, my administration has set this to be defaulted to only me, but I can allow all of us to be equals. Perfect for adults. I can allow only people in my organization to be presenters and everyone else becomes an attendee, or I can grant specific people in the meeting to be presenters. I can also choose whether or not I want my attendees to unmute themselves. In this case, if I'm having a meeting with all adults, I would probably say yes. If I'm having a meeting, especially with younger students, I would not want them to allow themselves to be unmuted. I would have to unmute them. And then this is new, and I think this has been asked for by educators. Will there be a meeting chat? If it's enabled, that means that we can have a conversation, we can have chat before, during, and after the meeting. If it's disabled, there will be absolutely no meeting chat before, during, or after the meeting. Or you can allow an in-meeting chat only. So the chat opens when the meeting opens and the chat stops when the meeting stops. So they're not able to add and continue conversations after you, the leader, the organizer, has left. So again, these are all determined based on you and what you would like to set up for your security, for your type of meeting. So once everything is set, I'm going to click save. And again, all of this can be changed from right within the meeting. Okay, so I have set everything is ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and launch the meeting. I can launch by clicking join here. And it's going to start the meeting. So a little bit different. Again, I'm in the desktop app. So you'll notice that the join options have changed slightly if you haven't logged on in a while or if you're new to Teams. So you're going to choose first on the right-hand side, you have your audio. So I'm using my computer audio. It's showing me that my mic is on and I can set my speaker volume depending on need. I'm going to mute because I am recording as well. Or if I don't have good computer audio, I can use my phone to hear and to speak. If I'm in a Teams room, I can use room audio, or I can don't use audio at all. I can also choose if I want my camera on or off prior to launching. If you are in the desktop app, you also have the option once you turn your camera on to use background filters. So you can have a little fun playing with your background there. Your settings can be adjusted right here as well, your device settings. So you can look at your audio devices and choose which you will be using. When we're ready, we click join now. And I am the presenter, so I have full control over the meeting. Now, of course, nobody's here. So as people join, we will notice our participants will change up in the upper right corner. Again, it's a little different if you are using the web-based Teams client. If you're using the web-based app, then your toolbar will be here in the middle of the screen, the middle portion of the screen. And you won't have all of the options available. And so for presenting, if you are the organizer, you are presenting, I highly recommend that you use the desktop app. You have more options. So when we click on show participants, everybody that you see will arrive and be shown here in the participants screen. You'll be able to, when you hover over somebody, you'll notice I am the organizer, but I can click on the ellipses and there's a few things that I can do. I can spotlight myself. What this means is that I will be the center of attention for the entire meeting. If I spotlight myself, it won't be a gallery view where we'll have multiple people shown on the screen. It will be just me. If you have attendees who are coming into the meeting, you can make them into presenters by clicking on that same ellipses, and you can turn them into presenters. So you have the option of changing roles right from within the meeting. Next to our participants title, there's also a more actions. Here you can allow your attendees to unmute themselves. So if in the meeting options you had selected, no, my attendees cannot unmute themselves, then you could make that change now if you wanted to. Here you can manage your permissions. Again, it's going to take you right back out to the meeting options that we set previously. So you can do this from within the meeting or ahead of time. Come back in. And before you end the meeting, you can download an attendance list so you can see who came and what time they came and what time they left. Okay, I'm going to close that window. We also have a conversations. And again, if you elected not to enable chat, this feature will not be available. So you are able to have conversations with people in the meeting. It is important to note here, if you post something, if you post a message and nobody is in the meeting, people won't actually see your message. So people coming into the meeting will only see chat that takes place after they've joined the meeting. So anything that happened prior to their joining, they can't see in the chat. So just keep that in mind. We also have available in the desktop app, we can do a little interaction. So as an attendee or as a presenter, you can interact a little bit with your meeting participants. You can give likes, you can give hearts and applause and laughs. And when you do, it will actually float up from the bottom of the screen. You can also raise hand. So when you raise your hand, you'll notice, because I am the organizer, that on my participants list, a hand is raised. So that way I know to call on that person. I'm going to put my hand down. And to put the hand down, you simply click on the hand again. We do have breakout rooms available to the general population. So breakout rooms, if you click on the icon, you can choose how many rooms that you would like to set up. So depending on the number of people, if you have 50 people, you can have up to 50 rooms. I don't know why. I don't think I'd want to try to manage that. But you can set up as many or as few rooms as you need. And you can decide how your participants are going to be placed into those rooms. You can choose automatically, which means as people arrive into your meeting, they will be randomly sorted into one of the rooms. Or you can do it manually. I'm going to click manually. Now I don't have anybody in here, so it's not going to look the same, but it allows me to place my participants into the meetings, into the rooms myself. So I'm going to create the rooms. Okay, so here I am. I have my rooms created. I can add additional rooms. So if I realize, oh, I needed 4, not 2, I can add additional rooms very quickly by simply clicking Add Room. Now, to assign participants, I simply click on Assign Participants, and there will be a checklist of names. And then I just simply check the name and put them into one of the 3 rooms. The rooms are all currently empty and they are all currently closed. I can click on the ellipses. When I hover over the name of a room, I get the More Options ellipses. I can, when they're open, I will be able to join the room. I can rename the room. So if we have team names, for example, then I can rename the rooms. Which would be helpful if you're pre-assigning. You can let people know in advance what room they'll be going to. Kind of makes the mystery a little bit less, a little easier on you when you're trying to get people to go into the room if they know what room they're going to. So you can change the room. Again, I'm going to highlight it. I can close and open the room, or I can delete the room. All right. When I'm ready, and I can't because I don't have anybody in right now, but when I'm ready, this close rooms will actually say open, and I can click and I can open all the rooms at one time. Once the room's open, the participants in the main meeting here are given a 10-second countdown, and they are placed on hold in this meeting while they are taken out to the other meeting. Now, if I click next to the title Breakout Rooms, I click the ellipses, I would be able to make an announcement that would broadcast to all of the rooms simultaneously. For example, giving them something to do or calling them back, giving them a time limit, etc. I can recreate the rooms. So if I needed to shuffle people around once they came back, I can do that. My rooms settings are new. I can automatically move the participants into the rooms once I open them or not. I would say with a 10-second countdown, if you're ready, let them go. And you can also allow participants to come back to this main meeting on their own or not. So the default is that they will automatically be moved into their rooms and they cannot come back here. And this is especially important for younger students. We don't want them in this room unsupervised. So you can set those settings from within the breakout rooms, more options tab. All right, so that's just a really brief use of the breakout rooms. I can control my camera here, turning it on or off and assigning filters. So notice when I hover, I get a private preview. I can select a camera. I can remove background effects, or I can look at others. I can mute and unmute myself here, and I can share my content on my computer with my attendees. So when I click, we call this the Share-O, I'm given a number of options. First, as a best practice, I always suggest include your computer sound. That way, if you decide you're going to be sharing a video, your participants will be able to hear the video. So as a best practice, always turn that on just in case. That way you don't have to worry that you may need to fix it later. You can share your entire screen, your entire desktop. You can share a single window or app. In this case, these are windows that are open in my browser. We have the built-in whiteboard with Teams, or if you've downloaded your own app, I also have the freehand whiteboard by InVision, and I have some PowerPoints that I have used recently. I can browse for additional PowerPoints. So you can click and unclick the Share to share your content. Now, the last button is the Leave button. Because I'm the organizer, I have options. Notice there's a drop-down caret. If I click the caret, I have two. I can simply leave the meeting, and the meeting will continue on without me. Or I can end the meeting. When I click End Meeting, it's going to cancel the meeting for everyone. So everyone will be removed from the meeting, and the meeting itself will be over. Now that will affect my chat if I've selected that there's only in meeting chat. So if the chat is only available during the meeting, then when I click End, that chat is going to cease. Everyone will be able to access and view the chat that we had, but they won't be able to contribute to it any longer. So I'm going to click End. And then my meeting is finished, and I can choose whether or not to participate in the call quality. So that's just a really brief introduction to setting up a Teams meeting and running the Teams meeting once you have launched it. Now, there's a difference if you set up a meeting from Outlook. Let's just take a quick look. I'm going to switch over to Outlook, and I'm going to choose Calendar. So I can schedule the very same type of meeting from my calendar. Again, here in the upper left corner, I have the same options. I can do a quick meet now, or I can schedule a new Teams meeting. And it's the same information, just looks a little bit different, but I would use this if I was not hosting it in a channel inside of one of my teams. So if I was hosting a meeting for a lot of different people and we weren't all in the same team, or if I was going to have guests coming to my meeting to do, say, a presentation or to provide some kind of consultancy, I would host it, I would set it up through Outlook and invite them as attendees because they're not in my team. This is an easier way for them to access the meeting. It's also a little more secure because I will set my meeting options so that there's only in meeting chat. That means once the guest leaves the meeting, they can see the chat that's there, but they won't be able to participate any further in any conversations. So if we were having a sensitive discussion, I would host it, I would set it up through Outlook or set it up through Teams, but not in a channel. Keep your guests out of the channels. That way you don't have to worry about security of data and information that you're sharing. So it looks the same, it functions the same way. You get the same result either way, just depends on which one you're more comfortable with. The only real difference here is if I'm scheduling the meeting through Outlook, I can't make it a channel meeting. So I can't actually put this in a Teams channel. That's about the only difference. So I hope that was helpful, maybe cleared up a few things and gave you some things to think about when you're scheduling your next meeting.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found the video helpful. If you do find yourself in need of support, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can reach out to me through my website, wensleredconsulting.net, or send me an email at wensleredconsulting@gmail.com. And of course, if you like the video, please head over to my YouTube channel to like and subscribe. Thanks again, have a great day, and cheers.